Hey there, Steve. It's Wayne. So let's take a look. These are the swings we started with the other day. All right, so let's slow those down. Draw a couple lines. So the age-old problem we have is slow rotation and getting a little bit out from under with the club exiting more straight out. And the contact is the big issue. Just trying not to scrape it or hit behind it. So the reason that I see usually, which is what we did in the lesson, is to see if we can get you less inclined to back up through the ball and have your right leg drive more toward the ball. So you can see here you're doing a nice job of gaining some depth. But there's a little initial up and pull away. So we're going to try to stay out over it in the takeaway. Getting it up on plane pretty good, as usual. So always some good things in the swing. And you can see the head pull well back and the release a little bit out to the right. And then when we watch from straight on, probably have maybe a little extra slide, which is usually what happens when the rotation is a little bit slow. So we're watching your right side on the approach, trying to get it to drive a little bit more forward so we can get a little more cover on the ball. So this isn't terrible, obviously. So let's see what we came up with when we changed it up a little bit. So the first thing I did, let's go to the down the line first, because that's pretty important. If we go back, first thing you'll notice is the stance. Since your tendency is to not rotate and to get out from under, I suggested dropping that left foot back a couple inches maybe, and just being more out on a little more out on the balls of the feet. We're going to concentrate here, or at least one of the points of focus here would be to keep the head out over the ball and not to drift away. So if you watch, you'll see that instead of sitting back into that right hip quite as much, but doing it by pulling back, that here you've kept your head nicely out over the ball. The butt line is, you're still a tiny bit into it, which is good. Your knee movement is fairly balanced. Now we come down, trying real hard to stay closer to the forehead line than in this one. So you can see we've been successful there in reducing this distance right here. Cut that about in half. So we're trying to get that feeling of being a little more open, so when we take a look at where your lower body is as you're hitting it, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a little more of that left leg appear. So if we get down to where the knees and the pelvis return to square, you'll see one of the things that the open stance helps is that's a little bit higher up in the swing, because you got yourself a little more open just with the setup. So as we come down, in both cases the club is going to be in nice shape plane wise right on your hands, but if you look down here you can see more of that bottom left leg. So with the head out over the ball, it makes sense that you'd be able to get deeper into that left leg as you're hitting it. And then if we take a closer look at the face on, with that left leg getting out of the way, I think we're going to get some right side forward, down and forward movement to cover the ball a little bit better. So let's take a look. So I actually should have waited to draw that a little bit over here. So we keep the head nice and centered. Get the hands nicely up to the ball, which you always do pretty well. So we get about the same amount of lateral, but we know from the down the line view with the stance a little bit open that you're definitely, your left leg is more behind you now. So if we take it from shaft parallel and we watch the tip of the right shoulder, we're looking for a little bit of movement forward. So you can see a little bit more forward movement if you look at the distance that the right shoulder has moved here as opposed to here. Did make a little gain there too. So by having the left leg more behind you, you're able to open up and drive the upper right side into the ball. So split hand shots, we've always been doing those. Alright, so I think by opening the stance a little bit, staying out over the ball, we're able to open up and not feel as underneath yourself. Alright. Now real quick with Elizabeth's swing, the whole idea was to keep her from shooting her right leg out from under her. So she had a tendency to get a trigger where she got pretty flexed. But what we're looking at is trying to stay deeper with the pelvis. So we just want to think about where the pelvis occupies space here. And as you watch, you can see it's gonna end up moving way out of the box over here. So I put a shaft in the ground. So when we start about here, that's going to probably encourage her to stay a little deeper as we go through this shot. So you can see right there, just before impact, over here on the right, her bottom is well away from where it started, and over here it's pretty close. So that the idea there is when you deepen the right hip in the backswing, you try to reverse direction and stay back here. Try to get the left leg to go left. So that looks, if you look at that right leg, you can just see how much more it's shot up this way. So I think if she works on that, that would be very, very helpful. And you can watch the finish. Now this is totally because the right side is so forward that she has no choice but to stand up to keep her balance. Here she's more bent over because her legs are deeper, and then her finish has a little more height to it.